A Ryan Day quote about how he is viewing the second half of the Ohio State Buckeye football season, a few keys to victory, and I hope I'm not feeling a little sense of deja vu. All that and more in today's episode of Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast, and this episode of Locked on Buckeyes is brought to you by McDonald's. Proudly serving communities since 1965, McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Guys, McDonald's, they're loving it. They're loving the food they produce to people every single week. And one thing I know that I will love, you will love, Ryan Day will love as well, is the Buckeyes are showing up in a big way tomorrow against the Indiana Hoosiers. Well, those of you that are watching this live, it will be in a couple days, but most people will catch this on Friday, the day before the game. This weekend's game, coming off of a bye week, there's going to be so many different thoughts, and I'm sure with the week off and seeing how teams played in the Big Ten Football Conference, seeing how teams played in the Southeastern Conference, the Big 12, the Pac-12, the ACC, all around the college football landscape, seeing Appalachian State winning their first top 25 game just on Wednesday evening. There's so many things that the Buckeye players have seen, the coaches have seen via the film room, via the TV, the games that they have been watching, and there's so many thoughts going through your head when you're not on the field making a statement of your own. With that in mind, the Buckeyes did move up in the AP poll and the coaches poll to the number 5 spot. There's always a target on the Buckeyes' back, but there is a sense that people around the country have a belief in this team that they're putting things together early in the season that they could be very, very dangerous down the road. In Ryan Day's press conference a Zoom press conference after his at this radio show on Thursday, he made a comment about the offense. Now, it was about the Buckeyes having the number 1 offense in the country and some things that are going through his mind in regards to how he will approach what it is the Buckeyes will be doing. He had this quote: "I thought the last couple of games we had some good rhythm going," end quote. He also stated about Indiana's got a very good defense. They come at you in different ways. The big plays are going to come on both sides of the ball. It's fundamentals you have to work on. But this one thing he stated stuck out to me. This one thing that came out of his mouth is something that I believe the Buckeye football players on the offense, they know they have to do exactly what Ryan Day says here, quote, "We've got to bring it every week," end quote. You're a Buckeye. You're an Ohio State Buckeye football player. The target's already going to be on your back. No matter if you're on the offense, the defense, if you're the kicker, people are going to be watching you and saying, if you slip up, if you trip up, we're going to come after you and come after you hard, tackle you down with our words, because we have a feeling and we know that you're Ohio State. The standard for Ohio State is way up here. I mean, you see my hands going above the screen. You can't see where my hand is. That's how high the standard is for the Ohio State Buckeye football player. And Ryan Day knows, even if you take away the number 1 offense that Ohio State has right now, if you use that statement in that quote, that phrase, to put it in totality and for it to cover the entirety of the football team, they have to bring it every week, because no matter if it's the Indiana Hoosiers or if it's the Purdue Boilermakers or if it's the Nebraska Cornhuskers or the team up north at the end of the season, Ohio State has to bring it every single week. It's one of those things when you're playing pickup basketball and all of a sudden there's a guy, you're normally the best guy out there, and you excuse me, and you don't have to at times play your hardest because you're the best guy out there. And when somebody else comes up there that is at your caliber, it's almost a sense of pride. It's almost a sense of you saying, "Hey, man, you're not going to come at me like that and just test my pride as a man. You're not going to test me and push me in that way and say, "Hey, man, I know you're good. I know what I've heard, but I'm coming to take your spot." That's not going to happen. Reminds me of Michael Jordan when Michael Jordan played the basketball in the NBA, or even at North Carolina, but primarily in the NBA. Michael Jordan came in there with an air of confidence. Michael Jordan played the basketball in the way that he knew he was better than you. He wanted to tell you he was better than you. And if you still believed you were better than him at the end of the game, you would understand and believe that Michael Jordan is better than you. From names like Black Jesus and all the other things, his airness, all the other things that are out there that are nicknames to Michael Jordan. I don't call the man Black Jesus, but that is what some people have called him, and he has told people to call him that very thing. I have heard people talk about Michael Jordan like Reggie Miller, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, James Worthy. I know I went older there, but you get the gist. All of these guys have stories about Michael Jordan. Their first time playing Michael Jordan, they're like, wait, Mike is different. He brought it every night. He brought it every time we were on the court. All-star game, pickup basketball game, that one pickup game that the Dream Team had that was secluded and what wasn't really talked about until recently when, all of these reports come out about that undisclosed, that exhibition basketball game, the scrimmage that really got the Dream Team together. Hey, these are the things that you have to do. If you want to be the best, no matter if you have the number one offensive stats right now or not, if you want to be the best, make sure you bring it every week in, week out. The Buckeyes are about to go through a 7-game stretch. Yes, I am speaking. I believe it. Ohio State will be in a Big Ten championship game, but take it one game at a time. And make sure you bring it every week, because if you don't, there might not be a 7th game in a row. It could be a 6th. Why? Because you didn't bring it every week, and all of a sudden, there's a team that you faced that got you when you weren't ready for them because you did not bring your A game when you stepped on the field. You are tuned into Locked On Buckeyes live on a Thursday evening, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. A little programming note for this Saturday evening going into Sunday morning. I will be at the game this weekend. We'll talk more about that towards the end of the show. And so there will not be a live post-game show at the conclusion of the game. There will not be a live show on Sunday either. We will just have the show, the instant or the reaction to the game coming out. That should happen Sunday evening, no later than midnight that night. But there will not be a live post-game show after this weekend's game against the Indiana Hoosiers. Anytime you go to Bloomington, Indiana, Ohio State fans know they should blow the brakes off the Hoosiers. The coaches know the Buckeyes should blow the brakes off the Hoosiers. Even a lot of Hoosier fans are like, the Buckeyes should blow the brakes off of us. But for some odd reason, there are times when you go to this place or when you play Indiana, they can be tricky early, not late. Early. Make sure that early does not linger into the second quarter. You could get up early, get up strong, and just really pummel them throughout the rest of the game. This could be the Buckeyes' 4th game in a row of scoring at least 50 points. And I think it means a whole lot in this game because the Hoosiers have a good defense. It is their offense that has derailed them. We're going to start with the Buckeye defense first, go back and forth a little bit, providing some keys to this weekend's game, some keys to victory. Number one, make sure you wrap up. I'm tired of watching football. Now, I don't mean to come on here before games and go on little rants, but we have seen numerous games. The Buckeyes have played better. Still Chambers has played well, very, very well. Cody Simon has played well. Taraja Mitchell has played well. Rocket Hickman has played well. These guys have played very, very well. Denzel Burke, I'm not sure how much he'll get tested over the weekend, just like he has in previous games, because he basically shows everybody, if you throw to my man, I'm about to lock that bad boy up. I don't know how much he'll get tested, but one thing that irks me, that annoys me, I know it irks a coach as well, when players on defense don't wrap up. Think about it. Your job, if you're on defense, is to, one, read, figure out where your gap is, read and react. So you have your gap responsibility. Now, if your gap is secure, you see the ball, make sure you secure your gap and then go to ball. Pursuit in a proper angle, pursuit in the proper way. When you get there, go with the force, wrap up, run through the ball carrier, the guy that has the ball, and then take him to the ground. That's your job. The defense's job is to oppose and make sure the offense does not move the ball. And one way you do that is by tackling the guy with the ball. Very elementary, huh? One more thing that's elementary is wrapping up. We have seen at times the Buckeyes have missed numerous tackles in games. That's one thing you need to fix and figure it out very, very quickly. And I mentioned wrapping up early because this Indiana defense is going to play the backup quarterback in Jack Tuttle, who is a former teammate, high school teammate of Chris Olave. Also, they're also possibly going to play a guy who's your third-string quarterback, was recently a redshirt. Talked about it yesterday with Jacob Rude from Locked On Hoosiers and Donovan McCauley. And the last thing you need is a guy who's a third-string quarterback, a true freshman, to come in there and light things up, to come in there and embarrass you. You don't want that. You want to know how you slow that down? Wrap people up. Wrap up the ball carrier. Wrap up the guy with the ball. It makes your life a whole lot easier. Another one. When the opportunities are provided you or given by the defense of the Hoosiers, take advantage of them. This Indiana Hoosiers defense is really, really good. Now, they are a team that has been struggling of late, that has been struggling because their offense has not allowed them to be in the most advantageous positions on the field to be successful. Now, some of that you have to say, Jay, the offense is one thing, the defense is another. A really good defense will not allow the offense of the Hoosiers to really derail them and to change and to alter how good that defense is. That's quite true to a degree. I do believe that when you look at this Buckeye offense and this Hoosier defense, the Hoosiers will allow the Buckeyes to have the ball, and the Hoosiers have really struggled to score the ball. This Hoosier defense is better than the average 26.8 points per game they are giving up by their opponents. That's 76th of 130 FBS level schools. That's not good. That's not good at all. They've given up 161 points. They've only scored 134. That is part of the reason the Hoosiers have a 2-4 record. I mentioned taking advantage of the opportunities that the Buckeyes are given by this Hoosier defense, because if you watched the game last week, it was pretty much a one-possession game most of the game against the Spartans and the Hoosiers. There was even one point, I believe, that the Hoosiers were up in said game. And then all of a sudden, what happened? There was quite a slip, a bad throw from Jack Tuttle. Threw the ball, I forget the linebacker's name from Michigan State, but they were backed up there. I think the Hoosiers were on their own 20 or 25-yard line. They had a long ways to go to get to the end zone. The next thing you know, Jack Tuttle drops back, linebacker slips over into the flat. Jack Tuttle did not see him. Jack Tuttle throws the ball to a guy who he thought was his receiver. It was a man in white. Pick six, house call to the end zone left side of that thing. The Michigan State Spartans, if they did not take advantage of that. Now, the offense gave the opportunity, but that's going to be the same way for this defense. Really good defenses, there are times that they do slip up. There are times that they do allow you to move the ball, and to be successful in that way, you have to be able to do that. Because if you don't take advantage of the things that this Hoosier defense allows you in the Buckeye offense, who I do think will be ready and up for the task, if they don't take care of that very thing, it could be a long, long, long game. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be something to where the Buckeyes have the opportunity to take advantage of some slip-ups from the Hoosiers defense, and they don't do that. But if they don't, it could be a long game. Sold-out crowd planning to be there on Saturday evening. I will be there. I know I keep saying that. My first game all year for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I'm happy to watch Buckeye football. Really excited to see this team and C.J. Stroud in person for the very first time. Take advantage of the football, of the opportunities that are given right in front of you. Take care of the football. A defense like this, they're going to be very opportunistic, not so much like the Iowa Hawkeyes that are the better defense than the Hoosiers, partly because they help their offense get in very good field position consistently when that formula is not there. We saw how things transpired for the Iowa Hawkeyes last week against the Purdue Boilermakers. It was not pretty against this Hoosier defense that knows they are the reason. They're going to be part of the reason, a big reason why Hoosiers are in this game. If they are at any point in it, make sure you take care of the football. Wrap up. You say, Jay, these are really, really elementary. I mean, it's true. If you don't take advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you, you're going to allow a guy in Jack Tuttle to get a little confidence, to allow a guy in Stephen Carr to try to skedaddle and move all over this offense. Stephen Carr saw how Mohamed Ibrahim ran against the the Buckeye defense. You also have Jack Tuttle, who saw what Davis Brinz, the quarterback from Tulsa, did in week number 3 against the Buckeyes. Now, the final score is one thing, but coaches see what happened early on. There have been changes throughout the rest of the season, but trust me, Indiana's going to try to do anything in their power to have the same success that Tulsa had against this Buckeyes secondary. I do think the Buckeyes will win. I do think the Buckeyes should win big. But if the Buckeyes don't wrap up, they don't take advantage of the opportunities the defense gives them, and if they just don't take care of the football, this could be a long, long game. You're tapped into Locked On Buckeyes here on a Thursday evening. Locked On Buckeyes Live, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. In the meantime, guys, make sure you are subscribed or followed to the Locked On Buckeyes podcast on the Odyssey app, the Apple Podcast app, or wherever you get your fine podcast. Subscribe on YouTube. Just search Locked On Buckeyes on YouTube and subscribe there. Hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. Make sure also 5-star review and rating on the Apple Podcast app. Feel free to do that. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Your support, your encouragement, your reviews and ratings help more people enjoy the Locked On Buckeyes podcast that you enjoy on a daily, Monday through Friday basis. So I am having a little sense or feeling of deja vu. Now, I'm not so much in the way that I was maybe at the beginning of the season, looking ahead to this matchup and what could go down during this game. But my very first Buckeye regular season game came during the 2015 season. The 2014 season, I went to my very first Buckeye football game. It was a Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana. The 59-0 smacking and shellacking of the Wisconsin Badgers there before Cardale Jones won, after Cardale Jones won that game, and then he went on to beat Alabama and Oregon to win the first college football playoff national championship. And so I was thinking about that game and the 2015 game and thinking about this game and one little slight comparison and connection that they both have together. On Saturday evening, now the 2015 game was a 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick. This game is at 7:30. So the difference is a little bit in the time slot. It's not the exact same time slot. However, one thing that does stick out in my mind is that when the backup quarterback came in for Indiana in the 2015 game, Xander Diamont, that man was feeling himself during that game. Watched a few highlights from that, and I remember some emotions that I experienced during that game because I was there with my mom and my dad. My mom was an Indiana University graduate. My dad supports my mom. If his woman is a Hoosier fan, he is going to be a Hoosier fan at that point as well. So there are portions of that game. My dad looked at me and said, "Hey, are you going to root against my woman in this game?" I said, yes. And at that time, thinking, yes, I root for IU every now and then. But right now, the Buckeyes are the team that I'm for. And I'm a little nervous. So he did ask me that question during a crucial point in that game because early in the game, it sure seemed like the Hoosiers might pull off an upset. Indiana at that time 4-0. The Ohio State Buckeyes going into the game were 4-0 as well. Indiana had their own little game day set up there. Dan Dockage, former Indiana basketball player, had a Dockage game day set up outside of the stadium pregame show. He had fun with that. The atmosphere was big and electric for an Indiana game. You got to keep that in context for an Indiana game. But for some odd reason, during this game, it seemed like the Hoosiers, their tackling was not right. They were stubborn and wouldn't get out of their base defense. They were Cardale Jones. I'm going to get to some stats here in a second. Cardale Jones and his bad play in that game really was part of the reason the Ohio State Buckeyes were not really moving the ball like they should have. That was the year that they had a 2-quarterback system in J.T. Barrett and Cardale Jones. Side note, it's very amazing that the Buckeyes had the record that they did when the quarterback play was not up to par what we expect quarterback play to be at the Ohio State University. Keep in mind, the standard of quarterback play has risen significantly since Dwayne Haskins in 2018 when Ryan Day was there as the offensive coordinator calling the shots at that time. For J.T. Barrett, the expectations were high, but I don't think anybody expected what we saw from Dwayne Haskins from any Buckeye quarterback to that point that Ohio State has been playing the football. So this Indiana game, I started to have a little sense of deja vu only because Nate Sudfeld in this game goes down. Xander Diamont, backup quarterback, comes in. Not the best guy, not the best quarterback. He didn't really have the best game. The best stat that I have here for him, he had a 71.8 QBR. That is out of a possible 100. He did have 7 carries for 98 yards, a 79-yard rushing touchdown, which was a big motivation boost for the Hoosiers. And there are times during this game that I'm wondering, where is the spark going to come from? Cardale Jones' QBR of 12.8 was poor, embarrassing, not good at all. But that was just one of those times where you're playing a good defense and an offense that has a little spark, has some belief. If the quarterback isn't playing well, who's going to provide said spark? In comes Ezekiel Elliott, 23 carries for 274 on the ground, 11.9 yards a pop, had a touchdown, 55 yards, which kind of got things going, had another touchdown of 75 yards in that game as well. And I'm only having a little sense of deja vu, saying hopefully the backup quarterback does not provide so much trouble for the whole Ohio State Buckeyes that early in the game, throughout portions of the game, even to the last play of the game, the Indiana Hoosiers had a chance to win that game. I hope I'm not feeling that sense of deja vu, because when I'm going to this game on Saturday, it'll be me, my brother, his wife, who they just recently got married in August, and then my mom, my dad, and then my dad's brother, my Uncle Larry. There's 6 of us going to this game. I'm excited for the game, but the fact of going with my family as well as going to watch a backup quarterback play, there's a slight sense of deja vu. I'm going to repeat what I mentioned yesterday and then close up shop. Jacob Root of Locked on Hoosiers asked me a question and said, do I think this is a trap game for the Buckeyes? On paper, some may say yes. On paper, some may say that after a bye week, Penn State Halloween weekend, it's a night game in Indiana, a night game against Penn State. Yes, on paper and in the human element, this is a trap game. The one reason I don't think this is a trap game for the Buckeyes is because of Ryan Day, which I stated yesterday. However, we are human. We see how the Hoosiers have played. You and I have. I know the players have seen way more film. The coaches have seen way more film than you or I have in this week. We have seen how the Hoosiers have played. They're not the best football team. I mean, Purdue Boilermakers going into Kinnick Stadium to play Iowa just a week ago. Purdue is not a good football team. Purdue has talent. Indiana has talent. But neither one of them are good football teams. I don't know Purdue's record off the top of my head. The Indiana Hoosiers are 2-4. Neither one of those teams are good football teams. The Iowa Hawkeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes, those are good football teams. But when you think about this and how things are on paper, and you may look at the spread from BetOnline.ag, or you may look at the over-under from the first half or the second half or for the entire game, you may look at the money line. You may say, well, I want to bet this game. Okay, great. Put your money where you want to put your money. I would not tell you what to do with your money. That's your money. If you want to gamble, so be it. The one thing I will say is this. If I am at this game and all of a sudden I literally feel the sense of deja vu, and I got family with me. Now, my brother is not really going to care. His wife isn't going to care. She's a Mizzou grad. My brother went to Butler University. His wife ran track in college. He played football in college. It's my dad and really my mom. I'll be talking trash to my mom the whole time. That's just what I do. I mean, you see me and the guys that come on this show that I'm friends with, we have a good old time. I would talk trash to anybody. I don't mind. The one thing I don't want to sense during this game is for some odd reason, either Jack Tuttle or Donovan McCulley, a true freshman quarterback, comes into the game and all of a sudden it's, oh, wow, Buckeyes can't move the ball. Oh, wow, the Buckeyes can't stop the offense. Oh, wow, the Buckeyes aren't wrapping up. Oh, wow, the defense of the Hoosiers gave the Buckeyes an opportunity to score the ball. And what happened? They didn't do it. I ain't trying to feel that at all, y'all. I'm not trying to feel that at all. The Ohio State Buckeye football team, don't provide a sense of deja vu during this game for your boy. Please don't. Please don't. For those of you that are going to be at the game, just like me, feel free to tweet at me or send me a DM at jstevens07 on Twitter. I would love to connect with you, see you. If y'all want to take a picture, I don't mind. Whatever y'all want to do. I'd love to see some listeners at this game. I'm sure Buckeye fans will be traveling from all over to go to this game because it should be a fun atmosphere in the first quarter. Hopefully not the first half. Second half, the students and the fans of the Hoosiers might fizzle out of said stadium because the game should be over. Guys, a Thursday evening live on the YouTube and on the Twitter. I appreciate everyone for tapping in and tuning in and enjoying another episode or show of Locked on Buckeyes Live. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. One thing I want to add very quickly, some interaction on Twitter while you are listening to Locked on Buckeyes on a daily basis, or while you are watching via YouTube. Feel free to take a picture of us on your TV or your computer, or even a screenshot. Tweet that thing out, tag me in it. I want to see what all you guys are doing, how you watch. Do you watch on the TV? Do you watch on your laptop or your iPad or your tablet or your phone? Do your kids watch the show, listen to the show? I want to know how you interact and watch the show. So feel free to send those tweets, pictures at me. I would love to thoroughly see and enjoy your interaction and see how you enjoy Locked on Buckeyes every Monday through Friday on a daily basis. In the meantime, this is the last show for the week, unless the news comes out. But before the game tomorrow on Saturday evening, make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast, because there's simply no better place to get all the news on the Big Ten Conference than with Nate Dickinson and the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Follow the Locked On Big Ten podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast.